Okay. Okay, this week's street talk then. Yeah, not so good. A week of Corrie this week. Like we said earlier, I just don't know really what happened. I've got a feeling this is going to be a fairly short street talk. There isn't a whole lot to say about what happened this week. It's really odd how you get weeks like this, isn't it? Like, it just left me kind of fairly uninspired. I don't particularly mind when it gets like that because I think the last couple of weeks have, on the whole, if I remember rightly, been okay. And I'm hoping, in the ramp up to Christmas, we might get a little bit more excitement. But this definitely felt like it was a treading water week, shall I say? And we're going to start off with the return of the Read and the Red storyline because Steve still got his money problems, hasn't he?
Stephen, why do you keep calling him Steve?
I know, I did. You might find that in the notes later today. I found that I kept writing Steve and then, for some reason, they're having to correct it to Stephen. But yeah, Stephen Reed is still in the red. I also thought, I was playing with renaming this storyline Norway Back Now. Although maybe I should have done with that reaction. That's pretty much the best I think it's a bit of a
short-lived story, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. So Summer Baby storyline is going to come next, and that's probably due a storyline title change as well. And then all day today I've been trying to think of a decent storyline for the Laurence and Sean storyline, but I just couldn't think. There's not much you can do with Laurence. I was like thinking about anything to do with dentists or teeth or anything. If anyone can think of a decent storyline title for Laurence and Sean, and I guess Todd's involved in there as well, do please write in and let me know. I've gone back to the old Laurence, I love you, because there was a little bit of that, wasn't there? Next up, we had the Maxtremism storyline, and then the classic Corrie's comedy storyline of the week, Gemma. Jacket in, the pair of you. And that's all about Steve and Tim's jacket.
Oh,
and I mean
hell.
Steve this week. I quite like this storyline title for the bistro and the dry rot, yeah. And we could have used this last week actually when Leanne was tricking them, but I'm calling it Rotten Trick. Rotten Trick. Rotten Trick is what I'm calling this one. That was on Monday's episode a little bit, and then the storyline title for the rapidly developing wrinkly love triangle that's going on between Ken, Martha, and Wendy. Currently, it's now called Kenage à Trois. I get a little bit of a smile from Gemma there. It's not my best. So Read in the Red this week. Oh gosh, he's got problem, hasn't he, as Stephen? So it starts off in the salon, and Audrey's showing Stephen pictures from this Norwegian cruise brochure because despite the last time they spoke about this was about a month or so ago, he's still not got round to ordering the tickets yet. But isn't it lovely, Stephen, says Audrey. Stephen kind of hit, what is it, £3,000?
I can't believe they actually said how much it cost.
Exactly £3,000 to go on a Norwegian
I'm glad that they
trip
did,
to see the lights.
It always feels more real when they say an actual price of something. But yeah, but I'm a bit suspicious. I think Audrey's rounded up.
Yeah.
I think Audrey's included her
her drinks,
her duty-free purchases on the way out.
Stephen's like, oh yeah, that sounds great, Mom. I'll just have a read and I'll get it back for you. Oh my gosh, I've got no money.
He does. He's got
£3,500 in his bank. We find out later.
More than a lot of people have.
Yeah, more than we got at the moment.
I don't have that much.
No. But anyway, we didn't make our first million before we were 20, like Steve apparently did. Stephen apparently did. So he has certainly fallen on hard times. So he's gonna get this booked apparently.
What's the point of making your first million by the age of 20 if you're gonna fall so hard?
Lose it by the time you're 60.
This is why I stay just steady, just mediocre forever.
Just bubbling over into the black if we're lucky. So anyway, speaking of money, Shona tells Stephen that Audrey's energy bills have doubled recently as well. They're really getting in these references to the cost of living prices.
It didn't feel right, did it? The way she said it.
It didn't bother me too much.
Oh, it did. It really stuck out to me.
It's hard. Sometimes you say, why doesn't Corrie, reflect the real issues that people are thinking? And then when they do, it's like, they're just trying to...
It was just the way it was worded. Oh, your mum's energy bills have doubled this month. And then it feels like it should cut to, I'm Martin Lewis. And if you need help with your energy bills, Go to moneysavingexpert.com.
Well, she's like...
That was a free advert, that was.
Yeah, we don't have adverts, apparently.
No, we don't.
She says...
apparently.
Oh, no, we absolutely don't have adverts. 10 years, no adverts. She's like, can you maybe help Audrey out with her energy bills as well? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem, I'm rich.
Well, look, Shona's like, can you bloody pay some bills, you lazy ass bum?
Yeah,
you're a grown adult living with your mum, and she's...
Rent-free.
Yeah, and she's like, got to pay for all your... hot showers. Don't know what you're doing in there. So not making $1 million, are you?
Stephen goes to the factory later and says he tries to see if they've got any consultancy work going. And
consultancy work just seems like rich people begging off their other rich friends for some cash.
Yeah,
what do you mean consultancy work?
I like those knickers.
Have you thought of making coloured sports bras? Oh, you have. Oh.
Yeah. And Sarah's like, no, sorry, Carla's not looking for any external consultants anymore. We've managed all this time without. We're good, thank you very much. So Stephen has to go then. And then we have Michael coming over because he's still got this loungewear design business idea up his sleeve. And Sarah thinks that they're great, and she says, oh, I've arranged a meeting with a graphic designer tomorrow as well, and Michael's very excited by it all. We know what he's like, and she says, yeah, don't worry about finances and everything, I've got it all covered. I don't know what the plan there is. So Stephen's in the pub later, spending all his money that he apparently doesn't have, and he gets an email to say he's got an interview for some consultancy jobs. He's signed up to an agency, hasn't he? And he's like, yeah, get in there. So he thinks that finally things are coming at roses for him. Then we have Sarah and Michael looking at their loungewear again, and Shona and Ed seem to think they look lovely, so hooray, that's all looking nice. Stephen goes to this Skype interview later, so it's in number 8,
yes.
Which is kind of risky when anybody could have walked in at any moment to find out that he's having to lower himself to doing this kind of thing.
Also, I want to critique his background. Well, he's got himself set up so the laptop is facing out into the wider front room.
Yeah.
That's not going to set off a good impression, is it?
No.
I mean, no offence to the Platt House, but it's a bit of a dump. Most people just sit in front of a wall, don't they?
Well, yeah, you'd think by the looks of the guy that answered the phone, he would have been quite impressed by this, because he was a bit cash, wasn't he? Where Stephen was all suited and booted, this guy had a backwards baseball cap on because he's down with the kids and on socials and everything.
There's a difference between being casual and being...
slovenly.
I'm not saying that the Platts live in a slovenly house, because they had up until very recently, their house was better than ours.
Oh, no, I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, he went to all the trouble of like taking off his jacket and everything.
Yeah.
But he didn't think about his background. Rookie mistake.
Yeah, he should have just blurred it if he didn't know how to do that.
Well, can't you do a fake background? I don't know how people do it, but is that just on Zoom though?
Yeah, I don't know what Skype does, because nobody really uses Skype anymore, do they? This was definitely Skype, but had the Skype music.
Fuddy-duddy Stephen using Skype.
Yeah, so this guy's a bit odd, his potential new boss, because he gets right down to brass tacks, doesn't he? He's like, so question 1, why can't I find out about you on social media?
So who's this guy supposed to be?
I can't remember what the job was. It
kind of got the idea that he was
pizza eating. What?
No, he's not a pizza guy.
He ordered pizza from Stephen later in the week, didn't he, or something? He was delivering to him.
Michael, pizza guys don't order pizza.
No. He's a pizza eater.
Oh, he's a pizza eater? Does it mean what his job is? I got the idea that he was some kind of marketing person or something.
Maybe.
Because then he's like, well, we don't have any social medias.
Yeah, it was...
Like, come on, Stephen, get yourself on LinkedIn at least.
Yeah.
I logged into LinkedIn for the first time in about 5 years today, and found a load of messages like, okay, whoops.
What is it? What is?
It's like Facebook for jobs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well. Tell me more later on.
No, there's nothing. That's literally it.
Okay. Anyway, so Steve kind of makes a bit of a fool out of himself by not being able to really explain well enough why he doesn't have a Twitter account or something.
Well, he says, I think of myself as an observer, but if he was down with the lingo, he'd say he was a lurker. Yeah,
he's definitely a lurker. I lurk online. I lurk by the bins.
If I was
lurk
Stephen,
down
I'd be
alleys.
like, sorry, can you? Is your camera? Does your screen work? Can you see me? I'm 60. I don't go on social. I don't care.
I know.
Like, liberate me from the expectations of youth, please.
The guy says, I don't trust people who don't have social media. It's like they've got something to hide. Some people
think that. Some people think that, though.
I wouldn't want a job with somebody that thought that.
Yeah, I know, but you haven't applied for a new job for a long time. They probably do look at all your social media stuff.
Oh gosh, what they're going to find
they
out
Google
about
you.
me. Yeah.
They're going to find out that
we do a Coronation Street podcast.
They're going to find out you're very strange and you're stupid.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, he's back in the pub later. He hasn't got the job. Well, he tells Sean that he didn't accept the job, doesn't he? He makes out like it was him that was turned them down, but actually they turned him down. But he then gets another call from somebody offering him a job as a fast food delivery driver. And it even comes with a moped. And it is in Bolton, no less. He was like, that sounds perfect. I will take it.
Great.
Stephen Reed, pizza boy extraordinaire.
So he's get a job with a company called Six Fellas, which is like five guys.
I didn't make that link, but obviously, yes, that is absolutely true. And it's a cross between Five Guys and Goodfellas, maybe, if it's a pizza delivery.
It's actually a pretty good name. It's kind of like how...
I wonder whether we put that down to our mate Dom in the archive department, because he's often asked to...
come up with
business names and stuff,
well,
isn't he? And brand names for Corrie.
It's kind of like how there used to be a bunch of fake
Six
KFCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like...
Yeah, I know, yeah. Anyway, Tuesday's episode. So Carla's at Audrey's for an emergency hair appointment at the beginning of the episode. I don't think that's important particularly, but Nick comes in and says, Grandma, has Stephen bought these cruise tickets yet? And she's like, I don't really know. Stephen hopes that he's going to get them soon before they all sell out. Nick hopes that. Thank you. Because everybody really wants these Northern Lights cruises. And Audrey says, look, he's probably very busy. He was out early this morning at some high-powered consultancy meeting or something. But actually, he started his first day being his moped man, delivering pizza for Six Fellas. And, very, very coincidentally, and, Corrie doesn't usually have coincidences.
No.
So I'll let this one slide. Yeah. But he's delivering food to the guy that interviewed him yesterday. What are the chances of that? Turns out as well, he's got the wrong order. So this guy's wants a refund, and Stephen says, I'm not authorised to do anything like that. And the bloke says, look, no wonder you're having trouble getting a job with anybody, mate.
So I didn't cook the pizza, you cretin.
I know.
If you never used Deliveroo or Just Eat or any other food delivery app, you think you can hassle the driver?
It looks like these guys live on that sort of thing, to be honest.
Wrong with you?
But they're there just kind of making fun of him, and he's like, he tries to fight back. This is when he's like, I made my first million while you were in nappies, actually. And
it just makes it worse, Stephen, because...
Yeah.
Why are you here then?
So if you've missed Angry Stephen recently, you get a nice dollop of that on the next scene, because he's on his phone there. His company aren't too happy with the way that he dealt with this irate customer. So he's like, I quit. And Audrey comes around the corner, and I can't remember what happened. She kind of wants to know he's angry at the phone, and he makes some weird excuse. Anyway, the conversation soon turns to these Norway tickets, and he says, I'll do it this afternoon, hooray. And then Audrey's like, can you print them off for Sam afterwards, so that he definitely knows it's happening. So Stephen's really kind of backed into a corner here. He can't just pretend to order them or say that he's ordered them. He's actually got to go through and order these darn Norwegian tickets. So he goes to speak to Nick later, and he's like, I've got these tickets on hold. Are you sure, though, about Audrey looking after Sam? Sorry, Mom looking after Sam on her own? She's getting on a bit. It's a big responsibility. Also, I think she might be hitting the bottle again. Hard. So he's trying to make out that Audrey should not be left in loco parentis of Sam on this trip. And Nick's like, no, she's not boozing it up again. You got any proof? And he's like, no, just a hunch. And Nick's like, no, she's fine. Anyway, she'd never do anything to harm Sam, and Sam's a perfectly mature kid. He's probably going to be the one that's looking after her, to be quite frank. So can you go and book the tickets then, please, Uncle Stephen? So Stephen has to go and do this, doesn't it? Does he actually book the tickets? I can't remember. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he goes and books the tickets then. And then we get this strange, I'm going to murder me mum sort of series of scenes. That went on in the Rovers, and we were a little bit confused with what was going on here, because he comes into the salon, and while her back's turned, he opens up her bag, takes out some pills, which, according to the synopsis, were Audrey's antidepressants, goes back to the Rovers, where he's enjoying a lovely drink with his old mum. He goes out the back, crushes the pills up underneath a glass, and then folds them inside a little bit of paper,
and
takes
then he
them
fiddles
back.
with it.
Yeah, lots of fiddling, takes them back and goes and sit opposite her. So he's got his beer or whatever it is, and she's just asked for a tonic water, but he's put a gin in it. So
double gin.
If you're spiking somebody's drink, does it only work? Can you not spike water?
I think the taste is probably the key, isn't it?
It's going to make it a bit
makes
gritty.
More likely that you can mask the taste of something else.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, she's like, well, fine, I won't. What did she says? Oh, I won't tell anyone if you don't.
Probably more likely to cause a bad reaction.
Yeah, that's true. Don't mix pills and alcohol.
I assume that you can die of overdosing on antidepressants.
So the problem stands at the moment. How is Stephen going to spike her drink? He's got the crushed pills, he's got his mum there, he's got the gin and tonic.
Look over there, Mum, I think it's the Northern Lights. Oh, Stephen, no, that's just the jukebox.
That just reminds me of the end of the steamed ham scene with Principal Skinner and Superintendent Chalmers, you know?
No,
you know that scene. When...
I know steamed hams.
Yeah, it's that. It's where,
well, I don't know what happens at the end.
Well, no, just Principal Skinner sets the house on fire, and then his mum's like, Seymour, the house is on fire! And he's like, no, Mother, it's just the Northern Lights.
Oh, okay.
Classic. Anyway, no, he doesn't do that. Very handily. She needs to go to the bog. She needs to go and have an Audrey Waz. And so then we get a couple of scenes where it's like, oh, I'm going to stick the pills in the drink. Shall I do it? Oh, it's such a dilemma. It's my mom. I can't kill her, can I? And then that's kind of the... He's sweating away and it's break, and then after the break he comes back and it's like, oh, has he done it? So we were like, are we supposed to not know whether he's done it or not, or were we not paying attention? I don't know, but it looks like he has done it, doesn't it, because of what happens in the end. So Audrey's there, and this is probably the longest she's ever nursed a drink without just taking a swig.
Yeah.
But she's swelling it away, and she brings up the subject of the cruise again. And
hang on, you've missed out that he gets a phone call.
Where does he get a phone call? Oh yes, of course.
Gets
Gabrielle phones up, doesn't
Gabrielle's
she?
like, hi, I'm just calling to see if they need me on Coronation Street, because I thought I was going to be killed. Oh, is this Stephen? Oh my God. Oh, this is really awkward. Yeah, I mean, I didn't make Christmas plans because I thought I was going to be dead.
It's like, no, it's Elaine now. You're off the hook, Gabrielle. Yeah, I was very surprised to hear her voice again. I was pleasantly surprised.
I was surprised when she left without being killed.
Yeah, no, I was
as well. So this makes me happy because I'm thinking, oh, she's going to come back and he's going to bump her off.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Good. She's moaning at him because she keeps getting phone calls because even though he's paid her off,
yes,
he's still got a lot of outstanding debts.
Like the car finance, and the car people are saying to Gabrielle, give us your money. So,
and just to clarify, because I know we all enjoyed Disney's Cars, these aren't people who are cars, these are people that own cars.
Yeah, what, the car people?
Yeah, they're not
not anthropomorphic.
They're not made of cars.
Motor vehicles, no.
It's not
so
like
anyway, she says she's spoken to the car people.
Car people.
We're really trying to fill up the time in this week's episode. So
look, we've got to entertain you guys if Coronation Street is not going to bother.
By making references to things you may or may not have seen.
To show off our age.
Yeah.
Basically.
So this is when Audrey comes back from Bog, and she starts talking about the cruise, and she says, "Look, I don't want you to book anything extra, like in terms of trips or anything. Like, I don't want to go bodyboarding.
Climb up a waterfall because I've heard that it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm too old for all of that.
TLC told me.
TLC told me not to go down chasing waterfalls, even in Norway. I just want to see the Northern Lights." And Stephen's like, "Oh, Mom, are you going to drink the drink or not?" And he's fiddling with the paper. I thought it had the pills in at the time, which is what I've written in the notes. But
well, you don't know if it
doesn't. We don't know whether it's got it in or not.
I quite like this. It's quite suspenseful. But I was thinking, like, honestly, I wasn't worried she was going to die. I was just thinking, how are they going to get out of this situation? Because he's obviously not going to kill Audrey in such an anticlimactic way at the beginning of the week.
Well, that's what I thought. I think that was part of the problem. I was partly confused during these scenes. Like I said, has he done it? Am I supposed to know whether he's done it or not? But also, that whole big thing of like, well, clearly Audrey's not going to be dropping dead in the Rovers tonight, did kind of remove any real tension that there was from this scene.
It is an important development in that he's considered even considering, like, just for the like $3,000.
Killing his dear old mum.
Everyone's favourite elderly Coronation Street resident, Audrey.
Anyway, Stephen is he's sweating buckets at this point. Sarah Lou
still
comes
hasn't had a drink.
Still hasn't had a drink. Sarah comes in saying, "Oh, I've got a meeting I need to go to. My car's getting its MOT. Uncle Stephen, can you take me to a meeting, please?" Sarah Louise, you're a grown girl. You're what, 35 at this point?
This drove me nuts. This absolutely drove me nuts because at the end of the episode, she's only just beginning to like mosey her way down to the tram stop. It wasn't urgent, was it?
No, she just wants to ride in his swanky ride.
Also, I mean, maybe I'm prejudiced here, but if I was having a business meeting and somebody got dropped off by their uncle, I wouldn't take them seriously.
At least it's not. Oh no, what would be worse? Your uncle or your mum? Anyway, he says he's gonna give her a lift in the car, and he kind of walks off. And then he stands by the jukebox and he says, I got such conflicting feelings here. And then he returns to the booth and then he accidentally, in inverted commas, knocks the drink over as he pretends to look to his wallet.
I thought that was quite slick.
Oh yeah, he's so slick.
It was. You couldn't tell he was trying to kill her from the way he flicked that drink over.
So this was the moment where we kind of were like, oh, he actually was trying to spike his mum. I don't know, if you got a gin and tonic with a certain number of pills in, what's actually going to happen? You're not going to drop dead right there, are you? Or are you going to start frothing at the mouth? Or
I really don't know.
You just get a bit poorly.
And I also don't know how much he knew. And was he trying to actually kill her, or was he just trying to make her too sick to go on the trip?
I don't know, because I don't know when this trip's supposed to be. But anyway, she lives to cut hair another day. And later on, Stephen is at his favourite place, skulking by the bins. Platt's bins this time.
He's like, memories.
Yeah. Kind of opens one up.
Well, the Platt's bin's just around the corner, isn't it? From the death bin.
Or was it the...
Well, he's skulking about. Is he by...
He wasn't by the Platt's bins. No, he was skulking about by Sally's bins.
It was by the hair salon.
It was by the floral bins. And
the salon. Oh, I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't matter. Stephen's by the bins, puts his screwed up paper in there, and then this is when we see him check his bank balance and find out that he's got $3,500 in his account. Is
she not going to think, hang on a minute, where's all my antidepressants gone?
Maybe, probably not. She's who knows? Anyway, he walks on into Victoria Street, and then this is where he sees his car.
He's already just booked this ticket, so he's down $3,000.
That's right. He's booked his ticket. He's got £500 left, and finds his car is being repossessed, and it's being winched off of the road, isn't it? Sticked on a van or whatever, on a lorry, and then Sarah Louise comes up to him. Because she's looked for him. She goes to the pub first, and then she's told he's not there. So she comes up to him and
no, she doesn't do that. First of all, Stephen's
I'm just skipping ahead. Stephen's telling the bloke, "You're making a mistake. It's my wife. She cancelled the payments by accident." And the guy's like, "No, sorry, I don't believe you. I don't care anyway. I've been asked to take this car. Screw you." So Stephen's left with no car. Then this when Sarah Lou comes over to him and says, "Oh, Uncle Stephen, is your car broken down? I'm going to get to my job thing now." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. The car has broken down. That absolutely is exactly what happened. Something to do with the engine."
Yeah.
So he gets a bit of sympathy off of her, and he says, "Well, actually, I'm thinking of trading it in for something more environmentally friendly." And this is obviously where his moped is going to come up again. So he turns up at the bistro at the end of the episode. Audrey is already there, being treated to yet another drink by Nick. And then he tells him about the car breaking down. "No, I'm not getting a courtesy car." And Audrey's like, "Oh, thank you, Stephen. You're so lovely. You booked the trip. You are so generous and rich. Thank you very much."
Hooray!
Friday's episode. It all goes a bit wrong for Stephen on Friday, doesn't it?
Even more.
Yeah, he has a stunt and everything. So Sarah Louise tells Stephen that the meeting with the designer last night went well. Managed to get there on time, Sarah. You probably could have got there super early and maybe had a coffee beforehand if you just got on the tram rather than trying to get a car, getting a lift there. But anyway, I need your help to help me nail down this loungewear business plan. And Stephen says, fine, I can have a look at that with you, but not now. I've got an important thing that I need to get to. Yeah, you should. You should start rinsing her.
Yeah.
And Sarah gets a bit offended by the fact that he's not instantly gagging or foaming at the mouth to look through her business proposals, and thinks that Stephen thinks it's a rubbish idea, which it probably is. Stephen phones up his delivery place later, and he does a bit of a grovel for his job back, and he says, oh yeah, my mom, she's very ill, and I'm really sorry about the other day, and what do you know? Corrie never does coincidences, but here is one. Gail is there, listening in. He's having this private, quote-unquote, conversation in Victoria Gardens, begging for his job back. Gail happens to hear the bit
and she just stands there.
Yeah, Mum's ill, and she just stands there looking worried. It's like
she doesn't even look worried. She just looks like.
Yeah, and then he's invited to go back to see the delivery people again, and Gail says, "Oh, who was that?" And that was an ad break cliffhanger, which Stephen manages to resolve very, very quickly by saying, oh, I was just trying to drum up sympathy. Mum's fine, apart from the whole attempted suicide thing, of course. But I am actually worried about her drinking getting worse, though, Gail.
There's nothing that's going to tell you to drink faster than going on a Norwegian cruise alone with Sam.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No escape there.
No.
Is she going to be diving overboard?
Off the side.
Yeah. Anyway, they get up to go, but oh no, he's left his phone on the bench.
He doesn't notice.
No, he does not notice this. He goes over to the cab office, where Elaine is there. And again, it's been, how long since we've seen Elaine on the street last? 2-3 months? I don't even know.
Well,
but she's wittering on about biscuits or something.
Well, yeah, because Tim's there, and
so Steve is back. Yes.
Yeah, and they're all going on about biscuits.
He just wants a cab. And he's a bit rude to Elaine. Apparently the trams are out, so I don't know what Sarah Lou did to it last night to cause that. Elaine stops off at the salon on the way out, and she's talked to Audrey about how rude Stephen was to her, and Audrey says, oh, that doesn't sound like Stephen at all. He's a lovely boy. Well, he does have some very important kind of businessy kind of business going on at the moment.
Well, because there was a bit of
that probably explains it.
A bit of a little flirty thing going on with Elaine and Stephen the first time.
Yeah, back in July sort of time, it looked like he was maybe going to be getting into a bit of a thing with Elaine.
Obviously had her nose put out of joint by his sudden lack of interest in her.
Yeah, so he goes off, gets his job back, and delivery time in Bolton. You
can tell it's Bolton because there's a bunch of bins. It says Bolton.
That's the clue. Yeah. We actually, you did a little bit of a look, didn't you? There was a road there called Fosbury or Fosbury Road or something like that.
And
you had to look on Google. It didn't exist. It's fake road.
I can't believe Coronation 2 would lie to us.
Because, I mean, now we can't do our Corrie pilgrimage to the street where Stephen had his motorbike crash.
We're gonna strap our...
How are we going to make content for the podcast now?
We're going to strap our bikes to the back of the car, drive up there, won't we?
Yeah.
And then do a little bit of a skid.
Cannot do it.
Can't do it now.
Sad. So, yeah,
we're going to bribe some children to steal our bag.
Well, no, he comes back from delivering this pizza.
Yes.
And there are teens there. There are some nasty Bolton teens that have stolen the bag, and they're demanding £30 for it. And Stephen's like, I'm not. Just give me the bag. I can't even do this. Just give me the bag. Bothered. I'm not. Yeah.
Give me my stuff back, you stupid ass.
I'm too old for this. Yeah. But then. Now, Coronation Street doesn't do coincidences very much. Not too often.
No.
But just at this very moment...
Coincidentally, this is the third one.
Yeah. One says they come in threes. Now, the other coincidences have been like, well, maybe Gail might be walking past Victoria Gardens because, she lives just round the corner and everything. Maybe she goes to Co-op or something. But no, in Bolton... There's Elaine just walking down the road. Of course she is. Why wouldn't she be walking down the road in Bolton?
She's got every right to walk wherever she wants in Bolton.
Does Elaine live in Bolton? I assume that she probably does. But
canonically.
I was like, oh, come on. Why would Elaine be there?
Oh, just shut up, she is.
He's like, don't want her to know that I'm a lowly pizza delivery boy. Slams on his helmet, drives off. And has a bit of a crash, doesn't he?
Whoopsie doobs.
Bit of an action scene. He's like looking back over his shoulder going, I sure hope that Elaine's not following me. And he has to swerve to avoid a van. Swerves and falls and skids across the asphalt. It's all very exciting. So Stephen is in hospital later on. He's got his arm in a sling. And he just like, I can't be staying here in hospital. Need to get away. Don't want to blow my cover. And the nurse or whoever it is, they're saying, no, you need to get rest for a bit, then we're going to reevaluate you. And he, as soon as she leaves him, he tries to sneak out and discharge himself, and he walks straight into Elaine, busybody Elaine, who's followed him to the hospital. And she's like, do you want to phone Gail up or something? He's like, no, I don't want to worry them.
You don't need to phone my mum.
Or my sister.
Oh, my sister. Sorry.
I'll be fine. No, don't do it. And she says, look, what were you doing in Bolton on a moped anyway?
What were you doing in Bolton?
My curiosity is piqued.
Walking about.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us, says Elaine.
You don't own Bolton.
Get off my patch.
Anyone can go to Bolton.
He says...
It's not like there's an entry fee.
He's like, I can't remember. I must be concussed from the crash.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to burden my family with this. And Elaine feels terrible about not being able to do anything to help him. So she offers him a bed for the night. She's trying to get her claws into him again. The randy mare.
Oh, you wait. She gives him a reason.
Does she?
To go after her. Yeah, go on.
I can't remember.
Stephen's like, I was going to a business meeting.
Oh yeah, Stephen later says, I was having a business meeting in Bolton.
It's a hive of industry.
I don't know why it took him that long to come up with that excuse, because that seems to be its excuse for absolutely everything that explains why he isn't where he's supposed to be when he's actually doing naughty stuff.
You didn't even write down what she says.
What does she say?
She's like, I live in Bolton, but I live in such a massive house, and it's just me, and I'm living on all this equity, and I don't, maybe if I sold it, it'd be worth like £500,000 probably, but I don't really need. Do you need all that space? So I'm going to downsize. And he's like,
yeah, she did say that.
Ka-ching.
Yes.
What's that? You've got too much money and you're old.
So she
sounds like the sort of bird for me.
Yeah, that's right. So he accepts her kind offer of a bed for the night, and then he's like, she's getting all this stuff together, and oh no, finally he realises that he doesn't have his mobile phone. But it's all right.
He's not exactly a captain of industry, is he? Considering, like, he made his first million when he's in the age of 20. Now he's hustling around trying to get all these jobs. And he left his phone, like, hours ago, and he hasn't noticed.
He's got two phones, though. He's got a business phone and a personal phone. That's how you know he's a high flyer.
What if Gabrielle was trying to phone him up for some more business information?
Yeah. Don't worry, though, Gemma.
I'm not worried.
Because, you've left your mobile phone around, and really, really, Corrie doesn't do coincidences very often. But Adam picked it up.
Oh,
just as a member of the family. It could have been anybody.
It was just there.
But it was just there. Adam went. He's probably looking out of his office window and was like, "What's that over there in Victoria Gardens?"
Oh, hang on. Is that my wife's weird uncle's phone? I recognise every member of my family's phones by sight.
Yeah.
I'll go and return it.
No, he's probably got a happy family picture on, hasn't he, of the on his lock screen.
It's like, oh, there's a phone here, and it's got a picture of Audrey with a cross through it. It must be Stephen's. The cross is obviously a big kiss of how much he loves his mum.
I wonder if he's got a death list on his phone, like the bride did. And,
why not?
Yeah.
And with
Number one, Leo.
With how much money each of them is worth next to it.
Anyway, so Adam takes the phone back to Gail, and so she's there left alone in the house at the end of the episode.
And what's she doing?
What was she doing? Ironing.
She's always bloody ironing, that woman. She's got the most crease-free jeans in all of Weatherfield. What would she do if she decided that wrinkles didn't matter anymore? She'd have no meaning left in her life.
No. Yeah. The phone rings. Just as soon as Adam leaves.
This is a nice break from ironing.
The phone's like, are we alone, Gail? Ring.
Come here, Gail. Do you want to know a secret?
It's the pizza people. Very angry Italian pizza people.
What is going on? Now, where is Steve?
Where's Stephen? He's had to crash to my motorbike.
We're supposed to be delivering a pepperoni pizza.
Mamma mia.
Oh, we scared the cat away.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think we're going to be upsetting any Italian listeners now, are we? Have we got any? Write in if you're Italian.
That's what you sound like. You know it. Come on.
Carry on.
Gail tries to ask who this is speaking, but is left looking all confused.
She can't speak Italian. She should have been like,
she should be able to speak Italian by now.
Who is this speaking to me now? And then they would have said, it's me, Gail, you stupid idiot.
It's me, Mario.
Yeah, well done.
Gail has been learning her Italian for lovers for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but they weren't talking to her nicely like a lover, were they? They were being mean. If it was Italian for meanies, she would have got it. But because they were going, ti amore, Gail, you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So
she's just left looking confused, even more so than usual at the end of the episode.
I want to say one bit about something that happened earlier in the week when Stephen goes to his job to pick up the pizza, and there's a bunch of these guys, the 6 fellas guys, and they're all talking to each other in Italian, and Stephen looks like he doesn't know what they're saying, but really I was so dying for him to be like stupido or something, because he should be able to speak fluent Italian.
Does know how to speak
he should
Italian.
be able to, and if there's not part of a story where they speak in Italian in front of him, not thinking that he knows what they're saying, and he does actually know, I'm going to get mad.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he's going to uncover some
crime.
Yeah, some drugs ring.
Yeah, because it's not very often.
Maybe it's the mafia that are running 6 fellas, not wanting to stereotype.
Maybe not. Yeah, it's not very often that an English person gets to go do the whole, I can understand what you're saying.
I'm bilingual, actually.
Not very many of us are, so Stephen should be flying the flag for bilingual Brits.
Yeah.
I mean, because bloody hell, remember when Sarah came back, she brought Bethany with her, and we were having this big discussion before they returned about, is Bethany going to have an Italian accent? Will she speak any Italian? No.
She's a bit like Dylan in that sense, isn't she? Been raised far away from Weatherfield, but still has got that northern twang to her voice.
I was going to say, they don't speak a different language in London.
No. I would go so far as to say that maybe Stephen also speaks French as well, considering his Canadian origins.
Could do.
Maybe. Anyway, that was that story, and up until this point, I'd kind of been enjoying it, but I found that it was losing traction somewhat this week. And again, I'm not just talking about Stephen sliding around all over the road here. Do you think it's kind of not as great as we thought it was? Did we only think it was great because he bumped off Leo?
I'm not really invested in his troubles as much as I thought I would be. I just want him to kill somebody else.
Yeah,
I think he's got 3 victims lined up now, because he's got Audrey who just literally tried to kill her. He's got Elaine who's walking around going, I've got all this money and I don't know what to do with it. And now he's got Gabrielle phoning him up, having a go at him. She's going to come back for Christmas.
Well, if I were her, I would stay in Italy.
That's
my sage advice to her.
She doesn't know that she's going to get killed.
Because
neither do we. We don't know anything.
If she stays in Italy, then Gabrielle is out of reach so far. That's also showing my age there. Do you get that one? Please say you get that. Gabrielle with the eye patch. I think. Yeah, I was more interested in the serial killerness of this storyline. Not that there is, the crumbs are there, but he's certainly only got 1 victim so far. I think with John Stape, when he was going through similar troubles and accidentally bumping off fellow characters, I think because John Stape was a relatively amiable sort of guy, when he was being a bit of a doofus, he's like, oh, John Stape, you killed somebody again. Oh, don't worry, you're lovely though,
Michael,
aren't you?
You've been in so much trouble before. Talking about how much that he's a victim himself.
No, I haven't. I'm just saying.
No, you haven't.
I think that was one of the reasons why I enjoyed the John Stape storyline, because he was generally a kind of hapless but also kind of likeable guy.
He wasn't likeable. He's a scumbag.
He was a likeable guy.
He wasn't.
But with Stephen Reed,
he was hapless, and there's a difference.
With Stephen Reed, he's not that likeable, and I'm kind of going back now to when these 3 character returns were announced in summer: Spider, Wendy, and Stephen. Stephen was the one that I was like,
don't care.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have expected that one. Fine.
Go ahead.
He's an established character. Why not bring him back? We complain when the relatives don't show up for certain occasions. Yeah, okay. And actually, and then when they decided we're going to give him a personality because he's a fairly blank slate at the moment, I was like, yeah, okay. Let's make him a serial. Why not? Okay, yeah, he's got a dark secret. Because okay. But I've forgotten what I was going to say.
You're not bothered about Stephen
But
Reed.
I'm now going back to he's really not that likeable a character.
He's difficult to empathise with, and again, he's one of these characters that doesn't have an ally or an associate or somebody to bounce their thoughts off of particularly.
No.
Gabrielle's gone now, so he can't talk to her about it. Nobody knows what he's done.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's going through his head, really.
He's coming off as being a bit too pathetic. and it's hard to root for him. Not that you should be rooting for serial killers, but, you know...
He's not a serial killer. He's just accidentally...
murderers that have got away with it. Quite often in Coronation Street, unless they're like... unless they've got villain, you know, stamped across their forehead... There's a certain level of, go on, kill somebody again, go on. We like that, don't we? It's like, you know, the villain in the pantomime, you enjoy booing at them. Mm-hmm. But Stephen, I'm just like, And it's a shame. It's not necessarily Todd's performance or anything. I think it's just the story is stopping and starting. I've complained about this a little bit before. We're going weeks where we're not having any of it. And this week, it really was a bit of treading water, I thought. What's the development now compared to last week? Elaine's involved. Is that about it?
Yeah, well, no, but I'm. This was probably my favourite story of the week.
I would agree, and that says something about this week.
Yeah, this was well the Max Streamism stuff and the Ken stuff. I think were my three more interesting storylines, but this was my favourite. I just think he's just, like you say, just spinning in wheels again.
The whole
go on. Him trying to kill his mum should have been a lot more dramatic and suspenseful.
I've got real problems with that scene. It just felt like it happened, and then there weren't any kind of consequences or anything. It was like, we're going to have the viewers on the edge of their seats for a couple of scenes, and now we can forget about it. It felt
like such incredibly low stakes after everything he's gone through and all the troubles that he's faced. To kill your mum over a £3,000 ticket when you got £3,500 in the bank just felt weird. I don't know if that's what his plan was, but it wasn't articulated well enough for us to understand what his motivation was. Did he want to kill her or did he want to make her sick? I'm not sure. I mean, it didn't feel like it was desperate straits.
No, and
I feel like they could have saved that.
I'd have preferred to him be a bit more sinister as well, or have it happen in a dark, shady corner.
It would have been more exciting
Grasmere Drive or something.
If it had happened on a Friday night, you know, they're at home together by themselves. And
if it had been like, her on the sofa, him in the kitchen, it's all being shadowy and shady, and it's like, what's he saying in the drink now?
Some beef stroganoff.
But because it happened in the kind of the bright, friendly Rovers, and
that's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen now.
I didn't feel enough of the tension going there.
No, it wasn't.
So it was a bit of a shame. So I hope that if he does now turn his hand to bumping off Elaine, we get a little bit more of that.
And there's no logical progression from, I accidentally killed Leo because we had a fight and he was confronting me and it was an accident really, to I'm going to deliberately kill my mum.
Has he decided I'm a killer now and I've got away with it once, so I'm
on Coronation Street and I killed one guy, so I guess I'm a serial killer now.
I suppose if you have got away with murder once,
no, it was just
might give you a bit more bravado.
Because we've not.
On the other hand, it might make you think, I don't want to risk that happening again. I got away with it.
That was a bit of an awkward moment.
Yeah, I mean, he has got a grave. He's got a proper grave site, hasn't he? Maybe he's planning to just dig up the surface and chuck her on top of Leo. I don't know.
I just find it very... I mean, I know that he was writing a will and everything, which you don't normally do if you're not worried. If you don't think someone's... I don't know. I just found that it was a bit of a weird narrative leap.
Yeah.
That didn't have enough... there was no drama, not enough drama
to
justify them using that. That should be a really important...
Well, let's make a direct...
It wasn't even happen at the end of the week, did it?
No.
That wasn't even the cliffhanger.
We can make a direct comparison.
The cliffhanger was that Gail found out he is bloody a Deliveroo driver. That's not... can I just add, that was the finale of the week. Gail finds out that her brother is...
You've got an angry Italian boss.
So what? Sorry, carry on.
He's been lying all this time. No, I was going to say, let's make a comparison to Richard Hillman tries to kill Gail by setting her house on fire for gaslighting... Audrey, sorry.
Yeah.
By gaslighting her for weeks, making everybody think that she's crazy, making Audrey think that she's losing her marbles, and then it's like he sneaks into the house, switches the gas on, lights it. That's how you almost kill someone.
Yeah.
And this just felt a little bit rushed and it came out of nowhere. So I hope that...
And it went nowhere.
Yeah, it did. Well, he's just now... The line of sight has now moved towards Elaine, hasn't it? Which is good. I mean, like I said, I think we must have mentioned a couple of... was it 2 months ago when he first killed Leo? We thought, is Elaine going to be next? It was either going to be her or Gabrielle. I'm sure we've mentioned it and said that she could be on the watch list because of them having that little scene together. Would I mind losing Elaine to Stephen?
No, not at all.
Fine. Then she won't keep popping back up again and me going, oh yeah, she's still in it. So it's
a shame because she was
She was. When she first came into it, we loved her. Her first scene, when she was meeting Yasmin in the prison, absolutely fantastic. They just turned her into a bit of a Gale, really.
She's a hanger-on.
She's a proper hanger-on, a bit of a mousy flippity-gibbet, really.
Yeah, flippity-gibbet.
But I hope that we get to see... I mean, what do we think is going to happen now? Is he going to just start wooing her? Is he going to move in with her? Is he going to... is his long-term plan to marry her, bump her off, and then get the money? Because that's the sort of thing that really probably is going to take a long time to happen, and I worry that Corey will try and speed it up or something over
Maybe he'll just fake her will, like... Maybe he'll say something about... I don't know what his plan's going to be.
I'm somewhat interested, as long as... Yeah, it just comes across as he's sinister enough. I don't want him to be
still married? He is still married to Gabrielle, or are they divorced?
I can't remember.
They must be still married, otherwise she wouldn't care about his debts. Because
yes. Okay, I'm going to say yes. And when she must be, because and her credit card definitely does say Mrs. Gabrielle Reed, doesn't it?
Right.
So there's no way he's going to be able to marry Elaine. But I suppose, yeah.
He can still steal money off her.
He can still, if he gets close.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what's going to happen next. And maybe we'll have a Elaine getting bumped off at Christmas. There's the prediction.
Ooh, how exciting.
There we go. But yeah, I was thinking, like, would Leo's mind be on murder if he hadn't killed Leo?
You mean...
Would Stephen's mind be on murder if he hadn't killed Leo?
I don't
Would he have resorted to this if he hadn't thought he got away with it?
Don't see
it's not a rational kind of choice that most people make if they're having some financial troubles. That's actually very true. So is he...
There's a big difference between accidentally killing a kind of total stranger who's being a bit of an annoying dick at the time and then hiding the body to, I'm going to bump my mum off.
Do you think he's going to come clean to Gale? I mean, if this
about
was
his delivery job?
Yeah, if this was the big cliffhanger of Friday night's episode,
it's going to be resolved immediately.
I don't want the first scene on Monday is him just saying,
well, he's going to say,
it was a wrong number.
He's going to say that, or he's going to say, oh no, I got a job working there because I want to invest in it and I think you should know how the business works.
Yeah, maybe.
So easy to lie about it, and he's a good liar.
It feels like so many of his problems could be solved if he just admitted he was a bit strapped for cash.
I know! What is his problem? It's like no one's ever been bankrupt before. What is his problem?
I can't buy these tickets to Norway, Mom. I've only got £3,500 in my account.
And there was even a scene where Audrey was going, oh, Stephen, it's so nice of you. I was going to pay for this myself, but you insisted.
Yeah.
And he must have been sitting there going, yeah, what a bloody idiot.
So, yeah, that was my favourite story of the week, but I was still left somewhat...
self-imposed stupidity as a dilemma.
Yeah. Anyway, talking of self-imposed stupidity, Gemma, what's Summer and Aaron been up to this week? Do tell.
Oh, dear. So on Monday, Summer's still struggling. She's still feeling sick. She's got her midwife appointment. Aaron wants to go with her. Because she's going to be seeing Mike and Esther, and so at work he asks for the day off and tells his boss that Summer has a diabetes appointment.
His boss Kevin,
that he wants to go to with her. So Summer and Aaron go to Mike and Esther's house later, and Esther's like so excited. She's got all these bags of designer baby things and a little frame for all the photos, and Aaron's just lurking about like he's
I did find allergic. Aaron like kind of amusing this week.
I think he's brilliant.
Just the way he was sitting there like saying, nobody cares
rubbish.
What I think,
he's
do
like,
they?
This storyline's boring.
He had like a brilliant... I can't remember.
It.
I think it was when he was sitting on Esther's sofa at some point. He just was sitting there like staring off into the sky like the straight face emoji. Yeah. Just like, I am superfluous to this. But also throughout the week, we were just making comments about how he was just like Cedric Diggory, weren't we? Yeah. And there was this one outfit that he wore that made it look like he was training to be in the Quidditch team.
Well, he's like, am I a Gryffindor or am I a Hufflepuff? I'm not sure because
Aaron is definitely a Hufflepuff.
I'm brave like a Gryffindor, but I'm stupid like a Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuffs are just the extra.
I know they're not stupid.
Cedric Diggory was a Hufflepuff, and Aaron
Hufflepuffs are
just the Cedric Diggory for me.
fun-loving. Well, because he was played by Robert Pattinson. Yes. And you can't tell me that...
I can't remember the name. James Craven. I can't tell that he plays Aaron.
Oh dear.
Can't tell me that he doesn't look slightly like...
He does look like him.
Patterson.
He does. He could be the Batman.
And yeah, that's a compliment. I wish I looked like Robert Patterson.
You don't.
I'd get all the girls.
You would, and I'd be in trouble. So, Esther's excited. Aaron's like, we're going to move, actually, because we don't want Billy to find out, because she doesn't know that she's pregnant. And they're like, oh, Summer, why don't you move in with us? Instead of moving somewhere else, and you can stay in the programme.
I was like, no, Summer wants to move away. Let her move away, Esther and Mike.
And Summer's like, oh, that's a good idea, actually. And Aaron's
I don't think I've been in the programme enough recently. Yes, I will stay with you.
Aaron's like, this doesn't seem like a good idea. And they're like, look, we'll just ask Summer then. And Summer says, oh, I'd love to, thanks very much. And Aaron's like, wow, I don't even know why I'm in this scene. I felt really bad. I felt so bad for...
I felt bad for
Summer's
Aaron.
terrible.
I had sympathy for Aaron this week.
Summer's awful to him. She doesn't ask him any questions. Like, this poor kid, his dad's just been in rehab. His girlfriend's pregnant and she's going to give the baby away. At least he gets to stay with her. Now she's moving out. Also, one thing she hasn't even thought about, and I guess they didn't, neither of them thought about it, to tell Jacob and Amy... Sorry, your bills are going to double because we're moving out.
Yeah, so you're going to have to find someone else to shack up with now.
So, Esther's like, oh, I'm going to get your payment over to you ASAP, even though it's not due yet, which is obviously a way of controlling them and making sure that they feel indebted to her,
Do you think
I think.
That Stephen might father a baby for them?
If Stephen could carry a baby to get the money, he would do. You know he would
looking
do.
into it.
It's like, oh, great money-making idea.
Maybe, Stephen hasn't got any kids of his own, has he, that he can just say... Maybe he's just going to... He should just, kidnap... Who's the youngest of the Plaque brood at the moment? It's Harry, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Harry with the long fringe. Yeah, he's going to say, here's a kid. He's never even in the show. You have him. We won't even miss him.
Nobody will know. So Jacob phones up and it's bad news. Eric's round the flat and he's definitely drunk.
Oh,
who'd have thought? So they hurry to leave. Jacob's trying to look after Eric, but he's just... he falls asleep on the sofa by the time Aaron and Summer get there. And Aaron's trying to talk to him and asking him how much he's had to drink. And he starts crying. And then Summer comes out of the bathroom and says, I'm bleeding. So they go to the hospital and she gets told that she's had a miscarriage. And she says, the nurse says, it's not uncommon. Don't blame yourself. Because Summer says, always there's something I did. And she's like, no, just go home, look after yourself. And Summer's suddenly worried, how are they going to tell Esther and Mike? And are they going to have to pay this money back?
The solution, we won't.
We just won't tell anybody anything. I won't tell Billy I am pregnant. I won't tell Esther and Mike I'm not pregnant.
This is just like lies upon lies.
Schrodinger's baby.
Yeah, she's just going to be going around there with increasingly large pillows stuffed up her jumper for the next 9 months, and then you're going to have this awkward scene where she forgets to take it out the one time that she's going home to meet Billy, and he's like, blimey, you ate all the pies here, Summer.
Summer says we've got to go and tell them and break it to them gently, and Aaron says, look, let's do it tomorrow because I've got my own problems here with my dad. So they get home. Jacob is tending to Eric, who's fallen over drunk. He gets aggressive. They have to manhandle him into a taxi. Eric's crying, saying how sorry he is. Aaron's getting really stressed out.
I felt bad. I did feel bad for Eric. I don't know what the actor was called who played Eric. I thought he was doing quite a good job. Yeah. I thought, and Jacob as well. I thought he was being very, very nice to Eric. And Summer was just like, no, make it all about me.
She's like, wow, but this was supposed to just be one and done. I don't understand.
This is a Summer storyline. It's not an Aaron storyline. It's an Eric storyline.
Stop trying to take my screen time, bitch.
I'd love her to just.
Turn evil.
Exactly. So grow a pair of horns and just go postal on them.
So Aaron takes Eric to the hospital, and Summer's laying around sad on the sofa. Esther texts saying her room's ready, and then Aaron comes back from the hospital, and he says that Eric was awful at A&E, and 1 minute he's crying, the next minute he's kicking off, and everyone knew why he was there, and it was because he's an alcoholic and he thinks he might have to move back in with his dad. And someone says, I'll move in with you. It's like, Summer, no, you can't be pregnant and not pregnant. You can't live here, there and everywhere. pick one thing and tell everybody that's your plan and then do it. Summer just lives in like endless possibilities.
Yeah, she does.
She's like, if I never decide, I never make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Summer says, maybe we should wait. Maybe we shouldn't tell Mike and Esther yet. We could keep the money and then we could get more rehab. And Aaron's like, it's fraud. Aaron, don't worry about that bit. That's the least of your problems. What do you mean it's fraud? And they say, look, we would never. He says that we'd never be able to pay it back. And Summer says Eric needs professional help, and the money is just there because this is the second payment that they've made.
Yeah.
And she says, if you want your dad alive, it's your only choice. Why have Thingy and Bobby sent
Esther
her
and Mike?
Yeah, more money.
Well, they said that they would, didn't they? They're just trying to coax her in, saying, "Here's more money. Come and live with us."
How much money? Because she said, "Oh, I want £10,000 or however." She said more than that, I think. And they were like, "Oh, that seems like a lot," but then they gave it to her anyway, and now they're giving her more, and she hasn't even asked for it. I'm a bit confused about what it's for.
I don't know.
So on Tuesday, Eric has tried to discharge himself. We find out from the hospital, and Summer's like, well, we just need to concentrate on getting your dad better and use that money, and shall I give it to the rehab place? And Aaron's not committal at all about this. And then Summer starts wincing in pain at work and hobbling around, and Carla's like, oh, go home, Summer.
Go home, Summer. I can't be dealing with your misery. Just take a day off, please.
It's like sister. Go home, Summer.
Yeah.
So she hobbles off. Carla doesn't even ask what's wrong with her. She's like, I don't want to know. Just go away. It's probably something boring.
You don't add anything here, Summer.
You're not doing anything useful, so go home. Billy comes home, Billy comes to find Summer at the factory, but Carla tells him that she's at home, and he says, oh, it's really nice of you to be so understanding of Summer because she is boring and she needs all the help she can get.
Chronically boring.
He comes home.
She's terminal.
Finds Summer, and he asks her if she's okay, and she just cries, and I thought that was very sweet.
That was.
That felt very human to me. Of like, she just has no response other than
She's
so
got herself into a
overwhelmed.
bit of a pickle.
She has, hasn't she?
What more can you do? Just blub your eyes out.
So he thinks that she's processing the abortion thing and says, look, you know, I support you, and I know one day you'll make a great mum. Don't ever say that to anybody who's lost a baby. One day you'll make a great mum. No, don't say that. You don't know if it's even possible for her to carry a baby again.
I think you'll find that Billy is a professional advice giver.
Well, you'll make a great mum one day. Just shut up about it, for God's sake. Just give her a hug and some chocolate. And he says, I'll support you in everything you do. Someone's like, well, I've got a list here of what I've been getting up to. Aaron comes and sits with Summer in their own flat later, and she's like, thank you for doing...
He says
thank you for doing all this for my dad. And she said she just needs to stay strong for a bit longer. I don't know who says that, but...
Aaron does.
Esther and Mike come round to see Summer on Friday. And Wednesday. And she doesn't tell them about what's happened. And they start going on and on about this room that they've prepared for her. And Aaron's just like...
I kind of want to see this room. I imagine it's like... You know, at the end of... what's that film? The scary film with a woman who saws off her head. Hereditary.
Yeah.
And at the very end, when they go up to the tree house.
Right. You're going to spoil things.
No. Okay.
Well, you already given a spoiler by saying it's...
I imagine it's not at all like Hereditary, but I imagine that they've got a special room that's kind of all decked out, and it's like white, completely white, and then there's like this little crown of reeds or something above the bed, and... You know, it's all just a little bit...
And there's a pentagram on the floor.
Yeah.
And they're like, we really want you to lie on this for an hour every day, and here's a chant you have to say. And some candles that you have to breathe the smoke of.
Mm.
I imagine it's a bit like The Handmaid's Tale, where they've got a special attic room where she has to go and sit, and then every month Mike will come and rape her. Just to make sure that the baby sticks.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like... If they find out that she's not pregnant...
Well, that's my prediction. They're going to say, oh, why don't you try again with Mike this time?
Yeah, because were they going to say that the baby was Mike?
Yeah, he was going to be written down on the birth certificate.
Yeah.
So anyway...
Is he going to baby baste her?
I don't think he's going to baby baste her.
Oh.
So... We've gotten a bit ahead of ourselves, haven't we? So
yeah.
Summer gets overwhelmed because Esther's going on about the baby, and then she touches her stomach, and then she runs away. And then Aaron's sitting there going, well, I mean, everyone's mean about Summer, but I'm also quite dull myself, so I don't know what to say here. So he finds her in Victoria Gardens and says Esther feels a bit bad and she apologises because she got a bit intense. And Summer says, I just feel guilty about lying to them. It's like, oh, what could the solution be? Esther and Mike come to the flat again later to apologise and says, look, the room's there if you want it. I feel like I've pressured you, so you don't need to decide one way or the other. And she says thank you, and they go home, and then she feels bad again. Oh, good.
Yeah. So...
Now, this is such a weird... I mean, I'm still enjoying the dilemma here. I feel like Summer's had absolutely no time to process the fact that she's actually had a miscarriage. She's so disconnected herself from the idea of this baby that she hasn't processed this at all. Like, there's no feel. She doesn't seem to feel any kind of guilt or sadness.
She's feeling.
I mean, not that she should feel guilt. I'm just saying that, like, no. Emotionally,
she's
of women.
She's feeling sad.
She's more worried about bloody Aaron's dad.
She's worried about that. She's worried about the financial straits that she's projecting. She's worried about the lies.
I think she's projecting all of her actual emotions onto. And also, I feel sorry for Aaron because that's his baby. You know, poor Aaron's had no
literally,
say.
You're right. Nobody's asking Aaron, "Are you okay?" about having had this miscarriage.
He's just got to go along with everything she wants, which, you know, I'm not ever going to tell. I'm not ever going to say that anyone else gets a decision about what a woman does with her body. But at the same time, he's not a robot. He's a human being. He never got asked any of this. His girlfriend's plan was to sell his son to help his dad. Now his dad's back to where they started off.
Even he's point of the week saying, no, don't be silly. We can't get this money again. There must be another way. And she just won't listen to him.
She's living in a dream world.
He needs to bin her. Really,
I think
she's too much drama.
But now he feels indebted to her, I guess.
But who's to say that the second round of treatment at the rehab clinic's going to work? I mean, the first one, he was off the wagon within a week.
I know.
Why do they think that this is going to work? And all that's going to happen is, you know, they'll just find themselves spiralling further and further into debt. You know, £10,000 this week, £10,000 the next. Where's this going to end? Summer's not thought about this at all.
No.
She just thinks that throwing money at it will surely solve it.
But she's very intelligent.
Apparently,
and
she's
she
intelligent.
Could go to Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah.
She's not wise.
Did they ask her any questions like this at the Oxford interview?
They're like, right, here's a dilemma for you. What would you do? Yeah. I think what's going to happen is Esther and Mike are going to find out that she's had this miscarriage, and they're going to say, okay, well, why don't you have a baby with Mike?
I think that might be the kind of eventually. It feels like that she's going to string them along for a little bit longer. Do you think that she's going to go and live there with them? Because they've got a set now, haven't they? Well, they've got a house.
It looks like they've got a location shoot set rather than a set in there. So I don't know. I just find this all very odd.
Because what she should do...
It's very dramatic and soapy though. Yeah.
She should just own up. I mean...
Of course she should.
She's currently owes them £20,000. I don't know whether she's actually paid for the second round of treatment at the rehab clinic at the moment. But... She is only a young girl as well. She's just turned 18.
I know.
People are allowed to make mistakes. Yeah. And sure, not everyone's mistakes involve, you know, getting £10,000. And also, you know, how much, you know, legally... would Esther and Mike be able to demand this £10,000 back? Because really, they're buying a baby. And I don't think they're going to be able to go to court and say, we're trying to buy this girl's baby, but she won't give the money back when now she's had a miscarriage. They can't, can they?
No, I think that...
So she just needs to fess up and say, nope, I haven't got a baby anymore. Oh, well, I didn't promise. There was no guarantee that it was a baby. You can't have the money back because I spent it. But maybe you shouldn't be buying babies. Foster like all the other characters on the street. I
feel really bad for Summer because one thing that happens when you have a health problem, whether it's diabetes or, like, I know it's not necessarily a problem, but being pregnant, suddenly you don't have any privacy and your body's not your own anymore, and everybody needs to know your business because they've got to help you and you need to rely on people for this, that and the other thing. So the idea that she's trying to keep some things from people makes sense to me because she's trying to control what's happening to her, but it's not working because you can't do that. So she's kind of making obviously she's making everything worse. But I'm saying I don't find her, and I'm unsympathetic from that perspective. I don't know what everybody else is thinking. I don't think there's a lot of sympathy for Summer, but logically, I think that she's not being that unreasonably idiotic. Like, you know, I think this is unfortunate yet plausible that she would mess up this badly with all these horrible things that are happening to her. She's only just found out that she's got diabetes, and she still hasn't really managed to get a handle on how to control that. And now she's pregnant, and now she's not pregnant, and now her you know, one minute her boyfriend's dad is fine, the next minute he's back on, you know, back drinking again. I just don't. She does. The thing is, she's got so many people that could help her, but she doesn't want to let them know what's going on.
But could Billy really help her?
I don't know.
What's Billy gonna do? Stand there and wring his hands and hope it makes it better?
I don't know, but
maybe that's the main thing she's worried about.
I don't know. I think. It's interesting what's happened here. Now our timeline is messed up for the pregnancy.
Yeah, we thought this was a surefire slam dunk for Britain's Got Talent week next year. Which is why possibly I was thinking she could pretend. Could she keep this fake pregnancy up? She could say, actually, you know, I've thought about coming to live with you, but maybe I'm going to go back with my original idea to disappear off for 6 months or so, and then, you know, they could keep sending her money to go and live in Timbuktu, and then they won't know that she's not pregnant. And all the while, they're getting his rehab treatment.
Yeah, but that's not going to solve the problem unless she snatches a baby off somebody else.
Summer doesn't really think about the long term. All of her solutions seem to be, you know, quick fixes to the problem that's immediately there for me. I don't think she's thought a lot of it through, to be honest.
I know, but I just feel really bad for her. I just don't really like her. But I do wonder, like, how different would this story be if you liked the character?
Yeah,
because I'm still quite invested in this, and I know some people do like Summer, so
yeah, they do. I just found the characters involved quite bland. Apart from I do like Jacob, and he's involved in it slightly. Something we didn't mention last week, I don't think we did, but there were kind of theories going around online. Is Jacob and Summer? Is there something going on there? Because he's being like really kind and supportive and helping her out at work and doing the work for her and everything. I wonder, is Aaron going to get fed up, walk out? Falls into the arms of Jacob. So.
Well, that would solve a lot of problems. Or is he just being a
nice guy?
It would solve a lot of problems because then she wouldn't have to worry about paying for Eric's.
Where's Amy been this week?
Don't know.
Why can't they have everybody involved in a story? Amy wasn't involved in this storyline. George wasn't around for the Sean storyline. I was like, get a full house if you're going to have a storyline involving that family. I don't know. You want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Laurence storyline, Gemma.
Right,
and we put this one this high up just because it did span 3 episodes this week, not because of the importance of the story or indeed the grippingness of it, because it certainly didn't have either of those things.
So the last time we left Laurence, he and Sean had broken up because he had actually secretly been married.
Laurence had secretly been married, but then we find out that his wife's dead or something. That's great. And Laurence got a bit offended by Sean having a problem with something like that
with it, and worrying, why is my gay boyfriend got a picture
so I'd kind of forgotten about that,
I totally forgot about it as well.
Laurence as a character up until this point was completely bland, personality free, and in or out of the story, who cares? So I was quite surprised when this came back into the mix this week, because Sally's asking about Sean on Monday's episode for some reason. And she's kind of getting him annoyed because she refers to him as a dental assistant and then says, "Oh, Sean, you're missing out on free dental treatment and everything." And Sean's like saying, "No, I didn't get any of that. Just shut up. I don't want to think about Laurence anymore." He's also peed off because apparently they've got a homeowners WhatsApp group on Coronation Street that Sean's not allowed in, which is kind of fun. But back home later, Sean is trying to get Dylan to have a boys' night in with him, and Dylan's like, well, no, I'm going out to football, and Sean says, oh, lovely football,
so am I.
I'll come along to you with that, and Dylan is not happy with this. He doesn't want his dad making him look a bit uncool at the football match.
Not just that, but Sean, what does Sean know about football?
Yeah, but at least he's willing to give it a go for his son, but Sean knows he's not gonna be great there, and they come back, and Sean's been. Was he made to play football? I can't remember. He had mud all over his face, and big disgrace. And at least it took his mind off Laurence, he says, and it just seems that Sean is still pining after him and upset that he didn't get any real closure with him. And Dylan's got a face on later and tells Todd, look, I just wanted some time with my mates. I think my dad's really lonely. So Tuesday's episode, Todd tells Sean, I reckon you should give things another go with Laurence. You were great together. Classic curry couple. And Sean's like, no, it's over. Don't be silly. I don't need that. And Todd says, oh, go on, try one last text. So Sean comes and has a moan to Eileen later. He's tried to text Laurence, but has completely blanked him again. Laurence is ghosting him, and so Sean's like, oh, I'm gonna try and call him. Straight to voicemail, oh no. So Sean leaves this message telling him, I'm over you, Laurence. I'm deleting you out of my life. I'm going to start dating again. Maybe I'll date Alexa, which is weird. Alexa gets a couple of shouts out in this week's Coronation Street, doesn't she? I don't know whether there's I'm trying to get an advertising deal or something there. But anyway, Laurence comes to the pub later. He's drunk. Because apparently he's got a drinking problem or something. Who knew? He's also a bit offended about Sean leaving him this insulting message, and he wants to have it out with him. But Sean is not there. Later on, and Laurence is really, really drunk. He's been waiting for Sean all this time, so Todd's like, you can't let Sean see you like this. Let's hurry you out the back. Come on, Daisy, give me a hand. You grab one leg, I'll grab the other one, and we'll drag him out to the back. Because Sean's starting his shift now. So Sean kind of helps Laurence.
What was this text?
What text?
He tried to text Laurence. Laurence didn't reply.
Yeah, then Sean left him a voice message saying, I'm going to date Alexa. Which
Who's Alexa?
He was talking about the voice assistant Alexa. I don't. Sometimes if there's something that's gone on in Coronation Street and you've missed some really important and obvious scenes, I'm getting a bit annoyed. But this one, I don't blame you at all for switching off whenever the storyline came on.
I don't care about it, so I don't.
Todd helps Laurence get into a taxi. And Laurence has all got a bit merry at this point because he's been on the booze all afternoon for some reason. He was clearly super cut up about Sean leaving him this message. And Laurence is going to the taxi driver. Oh, Todd's going to have his wicked way with me. And Todd's like,
taxi driver's like, who's Todd?
Yeah, just get in.
I don't watch Coronation Street. I'm an Emmerdale guy.
The two of them get into the taxi, and what do you know? Eileen's there, just coming out of the chippy, looking aghast.
She's like, I'm over my
taking Laurence away.
Near-death experience. I don't believe in life after death anymore, so I'm going to drown my sorrows with chips.
Yeah, chips and curry sauce. So back at the pub later, Sean's telling Daisy he definitely thinks he's blown it with Laurence, and Daisy's like, don't give up, because she obviously knows that Laurence came round earlier and he's still got lingering feelings for Sean. She just doesn't want to tell him for some reason.
She's like, I can't be bothered with this. It's too dramatic.
Todd gets home. Sean's got a cob on, and Eileen's like, because Eileen has told Sean, I saw Todd getting into the car with your ex Laurence, and Todd's like, no, he was just, I it's all very innocent. I was just trying to help him. He'd had a few too much to drink. They don't believe him. Oh no! Wednesday's episode, Sean is sent Todd to Coventry over breakfast, and he flounces off to work, and Todd's trying to tell Eileen, no, honestly, it is totally innocent. And of course, for drama's sake, Eileen doesn't believe him. Todd goes to the factory to try and say, oh, I'm sorry, Sean, you got to believe me. Sean doesn't believe him. Sad. So then Sean bumps into Laurence outside the pub, and Laurence is trying to explain what happened, but Sean doesn't want to listen to him either. This story is just full of people trying to tell the truth, and other people not wanting to listen to them.
This is like what happened with Bernie and
with Fern. Yeah.
Everyone's like, for story purposes, I'm not going to even entertain the possibility that this might be real.
And it's just the opposite of the Summer storyline where she doesn't want to tell the truth about multiple things that she really should be fessing up
everything
about.
She says.
Yeah. Ooh, the juxtaposition, the contrast.
I think it was deliberate.
So Sean starts a shift. Daisy says to Sean, "This is what happened yesterday." And Sean does believe her, because what reason has she got to lie? So, so embarrassing. I've made such a fool of myself, says Sean. Todd comes and finds... Does he find Laurence in the cafe? I don't know. He says sorry to him anyway, and Laurence says, okie dokie, let's have lunch together.
Todd apologise to Laurence? Laurence was the drunk arse.
I don't know. He just does.
Well, they have lunch.
They have lunch, don't they? Sean's still moping around in the Rovers, and Daisy is lending a sympathetic ear to him. Why don't you just make up with him? Just make up with Laurence. Oh my gosh.
Then Todd and Laurence come to the pub.
Todd and Laurence do come to the pub later, everybody. This is exciting, isn't it? Sean says, sorry, Todd, I jumped to conclusions.
Sorry, Laurence.
Sorry, Laurence, let's have a snog. We really like each other. I like you too. Laurence, I love you. Oh, I think you're great. They have a hug and a kiss. And so endeth the story. No, wait. There's a sting in the tail. There's a twist in the epilogue. Because at the end of the episode, Laurence says, "Ta very much, Todd, for helping me out with Sean. And also when I was drunk yesterday. You're a pretty decent guy, Todd Grimshaw." That's what everybody says. I hope that we can be friends.
So what?
And Todd gives him a look as if to say, I think it would make a really interesting story if I fancied you, Laurence, actually. Look out for that next week, everybody.
Well, you know how Freddie came into the show because his wife died,
yes,
and they needed somebody to do the makeup.
Yeah, Kylie.
So Kylie did it.
And the nails. Yeah,
and the nails. I'm just thinking the link here between Todd and Laurence. Maybe they need somebody to like pull the gold teeth out the corpses for a little scam on the side, and Laurence could.
God, what a story could that be? What an amazing story! Did anybody?
I don't think you'd actually need
was
a
anyone
dentist
able
to take out dead people's teeth, would you? I think anyone can do it with pliers.
Don't spoil it. Did anybody drum up any kind of enthusiasm for this story whatsoever?
It felt like we didn't need Laurence to go away so he could come back and reconcile with Todd. It was another
block storyline thing.
We could have just had him stay dating Sean and us just not see it.
Yeah, like what? Literally, it was. They were dating, split up, get back together again.
In a week.
Who cares? I like Todd. I kind of like Sean. I like Eileen. So it's not to do with the characters. I think it was just Sean that was sucking Laurence that was sucking all the interest out of this.
But also, like, is there any more to this story about him and his wife? Or is that just a little drama?
Probably not.
So I don't really care if he was.
What could make them split up for a bit? Because this storyline's out of rotation for the next 3 weeks. Let's have him marry. I don't know.
It is 2022. I don't feel like that's sufficiently dramatic or scandalous enough for us to care. Like, oh no, gay man once had wife. Okay.
Yeah, well, Sean will turn anything into a drama, won't he? So,
if there's a development that Todd is going to fancy Laurence, I guess.
But why? Laurence is so boring.
He's a dentist. He's probably rich.
I'd like to think that Todd would try and resist to protect Sean.
I want Todd to be back to villainous Todd. I want Todd to
have an evil scheme to steal Sean's boyfriend.
Todd wouldn't normally really care about whether there's any logic to should I steal this man's boyfriend or not. If he thought we could get some cocktails out of him and a nice few evenings away in a fancy country hotel and some slap up dinners off of Laurence, the loaded dentist, then why wouldn't he?
He did.
Back in the old days, he would have done it.
He did woo Marcus away from Maria, didn't he? That time.
Well, he's a mischievous little scamp. That's the point of him.
Yeah. I can't remember. Was that when he was like? I remember there was a bistro scene where old Todd like takes his top off or something. Just to try and get a bit... I think it must have been Marcus's heart all aflutter or something. So yeah, he's definitely been devious in the past. It just feels like new version of Todd isn't quite as devious as the other one used to be. It feels like, new Welsh Todd is just a bit of a nice guy. So if he does go down that route, it's not going to fit with him.
No, I don't like it. We don't need to change.
I don't mind him. I don't mind him turning back to being a bit more Machiavellian again. Yeah. But if his great evil scheme is to date Laurence, then sorry, Todd, you've done better in the past. So I don't know. Sorry, that was a miss, Coronation Street. But back to a storyline that we are a bit more invested in, the Maxtremism story, Gemma. But I don't think anything really happened there this week.
I know. I really feel like it feels like they were doing their plan for the year, and they got to this week, and somebody accidentally stuck the pages together, and they wrote everything out, and then they went back and they were like, "This is blank."
I think what they
Why
did,
have you not put any plot in this one?
I think they were working out the plan for the year and go, "Oh, that's World Cup week. We don't have Corrie on when the football's on, do we? Yeah, you're right. Let's." And then they're like, "No, we still want 3 episodes of Corrie this week."
Argos has told us if we don't do 3 episodes of Coronation Street that week, they're going to come and repossess all our furniture.
So yeah, Maria and Max kind of got up to something this week, but it didn't feel like much.
So on Tuesday, Maria wants to take Darren for lunch, and Gary says, "Oh, I've employed him because the school's on inset, so he's working at the shop." And Maria's like, he's not supposed to be doing stuff like that. He's got his bloody interview with the Home Office. If something happens and people find out he's been doing stuff like that, then he's going to get in trouble. And Gary's like, it's okay, I'm exploiting him. He's not doing it. He's doing it for free. He's not being paid. And Maria's like, oh, that's what we do. That's okay then. That's okay. As long as you exploit the immigrants, then we'll let them stay. Yeah. I'm going to tell Griff. He'll be very happy about this. So they go inside, and the boys have tidied everything up.
Yeah,
and
is it Liam and
I think it was
yeah. It Max? I can't remember.
But it wasn't Max.
Oh no, of course. He's not friends with him.
He's not friends.
Normally
when somebody does something like this, Gary would come out and say something like, "Oh no, you've moved my important papers and sold a clock that wasn't meant to be for sale because it's haunted."
They should have added that they uncovered Rick Neelan's little black book or
they
Gary's
just tidy up
stash of cash for a rainy day.
Very innocently, they just actually do work.
Just to kind of let all the viewers know, in case we didn't realise this already, that Darian is a top bloke.
He's a top lad.
Yeah.
He's trying to get the award, but he's not going to get it. Sorry, Darian, you're not nominated.
Get top lad award.
You're not going to be nominated.
We don't know. Conversation Street Award nominations, couple of weeks.
He's not on this long list. Maria comes and tells him that there's a meeting about the community centre turning into a refugee support centre. Hooray. Maria finds Griff in the community centre later, and he's talking to the locals about the fact that she wants to do this refugee thing, and they're not happy about it. And she says, "I don't believe you. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow, and everything's going to be signed off." So Max comes in, and then Griff invites him round his flat to have a drink later. Max finds Maria, who's been he's got posters.
Max has been flyering up the town.
Is this about not wanting?
No, Max has just been putting Griff's.
What?
Yeah,
posters
his posters
about what?
About save the trees and don't make the community centre a refugee camp or something.
So he's there, and she says, you don't have a licence for that. And he says, well, you're restricting my right to free speech. And Griff's going to be very angry when he hears about that. So back at Racist HQ, Griff's annoyed when he finds out about Maria. And he says, more flyers, that's the solution. And then he asks Max to set up an online petition because he's good at the internet. And then speaking of online, he says, oh, I know some forums with like-minded individuals that you might want to join. He's like, I found this really racist website. It's full of people going on about how they hate immigrants. It's called Facebook. You might have not have heard of it, but you might want to sign up. Back at home.
And Max says, yes, I know that forum
I
already.
love forums about racism.
You know, there's one thing that teenagers these days like. It's message boards and forums. Who needs Twitter anymore? We're back to old school.
BBS.
Next up onto the news groups.
Yep, exactly. Maybe he's found some subreddits. I don't know. Back at home, Gary offers to come with Maria to the meeting to look out for her in case Griff turns up. And she's like, Gary, if there's one thing I know about this programme that we're both in is that if I decline your offer, nothing bad will happen to me. So don't worry about it. On Wednesday, at the cafe, Max tells Dylan about the forum. And it seems like a voice chat thing or some kind of Discord or something like that. And he's like, you should join up. You like racists, don't you?
You're also white, blonde British male.
You've been disadvantaged by Darian, haven't you? He's a bloody annoying, isn't he? Maria and Darian come in and talk to Roy about the plans for today, and she's making some pointed remarks about Griff that Max can hear. And then Max has made this little petition, and 500 people agree with him that they don't want any immigrants or asylum seekers at the community centre. And Griff's really thrilled. They're both happy about this. And then Max says to Griff, oh, Maria was slagging you off in the cafe earlier. And Griff's like, I don't care, I'm not bothered. And tells Max he did a good job. So Maria goes into the community centre, and she also has somebody there. I don't know who he is.
This was I didn't write down his name, but I was looking at it earlier. This was the guy who was going to be helping them to convert it into a centre to help refugees or something.
I think
that's all we need to know about him.
Knowing Coronation Street, I think his job will be to bring a little plastic flyer holder and put some flyers in it, and that will be turning it into a centre for asylum seekers. So they're all talking in the community centre, and then suddenly outside, all the nasty racist men, including Spider, start standing outside going, we don't want this, we don't want this. And Maria's obviously completely aghast. She goes out, stands up to them. They're not intimidated. She's not intimidated. And then Sally comes along and says, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. And then she jabs Spider in the chest and she says, especially you. And he's like, ha, I'm only doing it for the trees, actually. Gary, Maria and Darian and the other guy go back to the flat, and the bloke's like, I don't really think this is a good idea now. It's a bit risky, don't you think? Also, these poor people are already having a horrible time in life. You don't really want to pitch up to this place where there'll be a bunch of people standing outside with placards. So
you said as we were watching this, you were making a joke out about the fact that the community centre is the only building in the whole of the street that has its window with a view of the street. Every other building has got blinds down, and they're like, why aren't we in a building with blinds? Then we could just close it.
This would be so much more convenient if we had smoked glass like everybody else did. Why did we get rid of the curtains? So, Griff, Spider and Max go back to the flat, and they're all really proud of themselves because they have triumphed, haven't they? They've basically got their way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I've got nothing to say about this. I do like the story, but this was another kind of wheel spinner. This felt like
a whole episode's worth of stuff spread across a week.
I think there was only 2 days worth.
I know, but it still feels a bit like...
It was just...
I wanted a bit more progress.
It was more of Griff protesting the community centre. Well, we had that last week when they were doing the flyers outside. More of the racists doing their nasty chanting. More of Maria standing up to them saying, we're not scared of you. More of the racists saying, oh, Max, you're wonderful. You're doing such a good job. I'm so glad we got you on your team. It really, really didn't feel like this went any further, apart from maybe is Dylan getting involved in it?
Is Dylan going to be Max's recruit?
Maybe. I
so
wouldn't
Dylan
mind
was the
because...
guy... Oh, no.
Yeah, no, just,
no, who was helping Darren at the beginning, then? It wasn't...
I don't think that was Dylan. It might have been, I don't know. I wouldn't mind, because, I mean... I think that the actor... Is it Liam McShane, is it, who plays Dylan? I think he's pretty good, but he's been back in the show for a little while, and they haven't really given him anything to do, so I wouldn't be too fussed about that. But equally, if he's not in the story, I'm not going to be, losing any sleep either. So, yeah, it really just felt like nothing this week.
Again, I'm feeling. I think they're doing a better job than they have done before, but I feel like they're floundering a little bit at the moment because they're probably rightfully so afraid to make too much of a case for the racists. Imagine how interesting the story would be if there were something happening where the community centre couldn't host both things. And then say, Maria's going, right, we're going to turn it into a community centre to help refugees. And Darren's like, brilliant, because maybe I'll be able to find my brother then or something. And then Gemma comes along and says, hang on, we're supposed to be having our baby group here for, deaf mums and their kids. We've been kicked out because you've got your... And then Griff would be like, yeah, exactly. Because at the moment, Griff... I'm not saying I want the racist to have a point, but it would feel more compelling to me and make more logical sense if they weren't just going, I just hate everything because of the colour of people's skin. Because I know everyone wants to say that's why people are racist, but there are lots of really complicated reasons why people come to that mindset. And I feel like I've said it before, and I don't agree with them, but I feel like if you understand somebody better, you can fight against it more easily, because you can address the actual points that they're making, rather than making them into a boogeyman in your head and then saying that they're wrong and I'm not going to pay any attention to them. You know, if Maria could sort of address the issues actually properly, I don't know. It just feels like they kind of already turned them into like really weak, like 2D villains, when Coronation Street could actually do a better job. They could
make them a little bit like more layers, but I don't mind. I'm not too fussed about this. Maybe it is.
I'm not trying to make a case for racism. I just think that people have a lot of different reasons why, and at the moment, the only thing we know for sure is that Max is annoyed because Darian stole his school space. Now, why has Griff got this attitude? Why do the rest of the guys have a problem? What do they think? What do they really think is going on with this community centre? I don't know. I don't necessarily think that it's a good idea for Coronation Street to tackle this particularly, but I do think it would be quite brave if they did. But also, I know that they would definitely come into a lot of sticky situations if they tried to sympathise too much, because already people are getting the wrong end of the stick here. I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself around in circles, and I don't want anybody to be traumatised by watching this show, because I know that it would be difficult to watch for some people if it was bit too realistic.
But Coronation Street often likes to have things that are difficult.
They've traumatised me lots of times with medical storylines.
Yeah, I'm just not particularly fussed by the whole community centre aspect of it.
It feels a bit of a red herring.
Me, the two things that
nobody cares about the community centre until this week.
The things that but it's an easy thing to do because they got the set. What I'm intrigued by is the fact that they're scoping out this Islamic or Muslim clothes shop, aren't they?
They haven't mentioned it for a while.
They haven't mentioned it for a while, but Spider has been led to believe they are plotting something big. I kind of want them to just get to that, but then I don't want them to rush the story. So it's a catch-22 really. But and then I'm also really invested in the fact that Spider is still an undercover cop and Toya doesn't know this yet, and I hope that in the next couple of weeks we get to see more of those sides of it. But I'm not so down on this like I am on the Laurence story or anything, because it was just a temporary blip in my eyes this week.
I'm still finding it very, very interesting, and I just want to be more hooked, and I want to believe more Max's descent.
Yeah. Right. Steve and Tim this week. Bloody hell, what was that?
Imagine if Darian was actually an arse. Imagine how interesting that story would be. We're like, but he is annoying though, isn't he?
Right, Gemma,
that's a joke.
I just want to get through this Steve and Tim story, because as we know, when members of the Coronation Street cast have to take extended leave, then often when they come back, there needs to be some kind of light-hearted comedy story to just ease them gently back into the programme.
Yep.
I mean, the mule face story when Fizz came back that one time is legendary for just being a really weird, fillerish story.
I've still got that mule face t-shirt.
And this week, what on earth? What on earth? Speaking about clothing-related return storylines, so...
You didn't like it?
I didn't like this.
But it was great because...
Tim finds out on Tuesday that Sally has taken his favourite jacket to the clothes swap. And why is it with Coronation Street about clothes-related stories? So just in this past, quarter, we've had Stephen in his jacket, and is that Imran's jacket? Who knows? We've had Summer putting her denim jacket in for the clothes shop, and then somebody buys it and it's got the pregnancy ticket in. Obviously, we've got the Hayley Coat storyline, which Hayley still hasn't been recovered.
Can you imagine if somebody bought... Who was it? Who got Summer's jacket? Imagine them getting the jacket and putting their hand in the pocket, being like, "Oh my god, this says I've got diabetes."
So yeah, Coronation Street just is for some reason having a bizarre amount of storylines about jackets.
There was also that extended bit where we had the scenes of everybody doing their clothes swap and paying money for other people's clothes, which is kind of nice, but it also felt a bit like they were reinventing the wheel, because we all know what charity clothes shops are like.
Right, so Sally's taken Tim's favourite jacket to the clothes swap.
Here's a question, right? If the clothes swap didn't have clothes from people who didn't want to donate their clothes, would they have any clothes left?
That's a great philosophical
question.
Because
it feels like everything that they've ever been donated was by mistake.
Tim's in the pub. Tracy wheels Stephen. He's back! He's not been in the programme for months because Simon Gregson has hurt his foot.
Yep.
And that's been incorporated into the programme because...
He did it quite thoroughly as well, didn't he?
He really, really did. Steve, we are led to believe, has broken his foot from chasing after a mugger down the street. Later in the week, we find that that's not true. In Spain, of course, yes. So Tracy is totally annoyed about having to wait hand and foot on her lazy husband. And kind of foists him off onto Tim to look after. So Tim pulls up a chair with Steve and have some beers, and Tim tells him all about this jacket. He's right annoyed about this. Steve says, by the way, Tim, I didn't really break my leg chasing a mugger down the street. Oh, what could it be? So Tim gets home later and Sally has bought him a new puffy, timeless, country chic jacket. Quilted jacket. He's not impressed by this. And then there's an awful lot of scenes of people making fun of this jacket. I didn't think the jacket was too bad.
This made me laugh because
Am I a farmer too?
We're from Hampshire, so perhaps we're more...
We all wear these kind of things around these parts,
when we stride around our country estates, we need something to keep the chill off.
Yeah.
From the sea.
Listen,
it made me laugh because everyone was acting like this was the most hilarious jacket they've ever seen and nobody would be seen dead wearing it. Meanwhile, girls pottering around wearing exactly the same thing in navy.
That's a really good point, actually. But they're saying he's looking like Elmer Fudd and stuff.
He looked great.
He looked fine.
And I was watching it going, do you know, I think my Michael would look quite good in a nice quilted jacket. That's you.
You're Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they had the
silly...
silly...
You need a new jacket, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Then they had the thing of, they were making fun of him like Elmer Fudd, and then Daisy goes, I tore a puddy cat. Oh, no. And then somebody says, oh no, that's that bird. Obviously, Tweety Pie is...
Daisy.
Tweety Pie is obviously copyright or something.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what all the different stupid cartoon voices are supposed to be.
You know that Elmer Fudd doesn't say I tore a puddy tat.
He says
I'm hunting wabbits.
Okay.
It's wabbit season.
Easy mistake to make. If I was Daisy, I'd probably just pipe down, actually.
So Steve comes in with Tim's jacket. He gets wheeled into the pub. And I don't know why Tim didn't think of doing this, but Tim's just gone to the charity shop. Steve's just gone to the charity shop and bought the coat. So well done, Steve.
Steve went, hang on a minute, I'm going to put the clues together here. It got donated to charity and now it's gone. Where could it be?
Yeah, ooh.
And you said to me that they've never had that coat before.
I don't recognise this coat at all.
It's very...
Is this a classic Tim coat, has it?
It's the one with the sheepskin fur collar and the black...
literally...
never
recognised.
When I saw it, I was like, yeah, that Tim wears that. But
anyway, Steve's obviously got a thing for it and he's gone and bought it. So Steve's mad about this and then takes his revenge on Steve by revealing that he actually broke his foot at a foam party with Andy. So Tracy's mad about this and storms off.
What a pair of lechers they are.
And Steve... Oh, yeah, this is why Steve goes and does it, doesn't he? He goes to get the jacket because he wants to make Tim think that he's bought it and he's not giving it him back. But he's like, yeah, I was going to let you have it, but now I'm not going to because you got me in the doghouse with Tracy. You can whistle for it. And he does this thing. Oh my gosh, I've not missed Steve McDonald one little bit.
I have to say, this was not a triumphant return for the character, was it?
It was just a reminder of how idiotic Steve is and
obnoxious.
Irritating. He's so annoying.
It was a very quintessentially Steve.
It really was,
story.
But it was all the things that I hate about Steve was in this storyline. So anyway, Wednesday, still going on about this bloody coat, and he's determined to get it back.
Tim wants it back.
Tim wants to get it. Am I getting the names wrong again?
You said
Sorry.
Steele.
Steele, Tim, whatever. So then there's a load of nonsense bickering between Steve and Tim in the cab office, and then, oh, what do you know? Steve's found a lottery ticket, a scratch card inside the jacket pocket, and he has a go, and oh, of course it's a winner. Oh, 250 big ones. Oh, I'm overacting. I'm Simon Gregson. And bickering, filler, rubbish. Tim storms off, and then Eileen goes and has a whinge about them in the cafe. And I know that I'm being massively hypocritical by having to go at Eileen for having a whinge, and that's all I'm doing about this. But come on, what a load of rubbish this storyline was. Couldn't they have come up with something? Can't they just come back? He doesn't have to have a comedy return story. It was a load of rubbish. The best thing about this story was nothing even to do with the jacket. It was Sally in the
Sally mentions the fact that Rosie's been excited about the fact that she's
in a book.
She's in the book.
Yeah, and then this is kind of related to the story, I suppose, because it was Sally.
Well, because they said, how's your...
Yeah.
So how's Rosie doing? How's
Sophie and
doing?
everything, and yeah, Sally says, "Oh, I see Sophie as more of an empath like me." And she's a lesbian. I can't deliver it in the way that Sally Dinner did.
And then the other person says, "You make it sound like it's a full-time job." Yeah, it was Mary.
You make it sound like it's
I thought that was fantastic.
Those are my lines of the week. Because you just knew that as soon as Sophie was brought up into the script, Sally was going to be, and she's a lesbian, and she can...
I love how proud she is. I really love how proud she is.
It's been a long time since we've got to see Sally crowing about her daughter's sexuality, and that was brilliant. But what a load of bloody rubbish was Steve and Tim. Seriously.
They're acting like vacuous, cretinous morons, and I know that
Tracy's there saying we just acting like a couple of kids.
The thing is about this, it's kind of disrespectful to Tim and Steve, because they aren't this dumb and mean most of the time. I know they are a bit dumb and mean, but they're not so, like, Steve is not so callous that he would just steal someone's jacket and his money.
Yeah.
Isn't the point of these guys is that they're, maybe they are idiots, but they're good-hearted idiots.
I know, and it's like, are they going to make up? Yes, they will. Of course they will. Is Steve going to spend all the money?
No.
Probably not. Although, putting it in the roof fund might be a good idea.
I know, if he'd won 10 grand, it might be helpful, but 250 quid?
Yeah, and...
It just wasn't great.
That was so...
Well, it could have been so funny, bad. But it just
don't say it could have been funny, because that makes the choreo writer saying, let's try again.
No.
There's no way this storyline could have been funny. You don't need to do it, Coronation Street. And I feel really bad for anybody who did enjoy this storyline as a massive Steve McDonald fan. I used to love Steve McDonald, but he gets on my last nerve now. Gemma.
Oh dear.
Rotten trick.
Talking about
bistro stuff.
Building strife. Building troubles.
Building strife, yeah.
On Monday, Leanne's seething away because, don't forget, last week they were duped by pocket-sized Rocket Debbie as she tricked them into taking on the bistro because it's full of wet rot. So Ed comes round to have a look about, and she's like, "Ed, do you not remember when you did the refit for Ray that there was wet rot everywhere?"
There haven't been wet rot in the bistro since when Kate used to work there.
And he's like, "No, I didn't see it, but it was pretty good at spreading. I'll come and have a look and I'll give you a quote." So they get another quote, and the guy's like, "Well, do you want the good news or the bad news?" Good news is I've got a part in Coronation Street. Hi, Mum. Bad news is actually it's going to cost you more, like 20 grand.
Tram crash.
But there's no risk of the tram line being affected, in case you thought this storyline might be interesting. And then Nick says, "Leanne, why don't we just loot the child's bank account? Maybe I'll just talk to him and ask Sam if he wants to lend us the money or give us the money." And again, Leanne's not happy about it. Nick brings Sam home from school. He's like, "Let's have a lads' night in. Let's play chess." And he says, "I was so proud of you for how you dealt with Harvey last week." And Sam's pretty pleased too. And he said, "Made me realise how lucky I was to have a mum like Natasha." And Nick's like, "Your mum left your money, and she's dead because Harvey killed her. That money that she left you?" And Sam's like, "Yes, I'm glad you mentioned it. Before you go any further, let me just explain to you. Yeah. I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it to good use, and I'm going to put myself through university with it, probably next week, because I'm quite clever, so I'll need it pretty soon. And I won't waste it, and I'll earn lots of money." And Nick's like, "Gosh darn it. Now I can't ask him for the money.
Back to the drawing board. I might have to go to Harvey."
Goes back to Leanne and says, "I didn't want to ask Nick, but I did speak to Natasha's sister, and she's fine with going behind his back and just taking it." And Leanne's like, "Great." Ed comes round.
Yeah, if Natasha's sister's is up for it, then I'm all for it.
Well, of course it's. That's the most important thing.
We're in dire straits.
Ed comes round later and he says, oh yeah, I also think it's going to cost you 20 grand. And then Nick comes over to Leanne and says, don't worry, the money's sorted. We're going to get it soon. Don't text Melissa, Natasha's sister, to say thank you though. Don't ask me why. Just don't do it. Leanne's perked up later. She's talking about grazing boards. I thought she had a really good idea. This is the first business idea I've ever heard on Coronation Street that isn't just, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, she was like, grazing boards, but for puddings.
I would love this.
That's a brilliant idea, Leanne.
I'm a pudding man.
You could be the weather. You could be Weatherfield's hottest spot for puddings.
Yeah.
Especially in winter when people want a nice big rib sticking, marshmallow and chocolate filled.
Yeah, and think all those classic northern puds that they could have. You know, a bit of a graze of a jam roly-poly, a bit of spotted dick.
Well, you could have it like little...
a bit of chocolate fudge
little cake bites, and then a variety of like hot custard, hot chocolate sauce.
Yeah.
I'd be bloody brilliant. I mean, I don't really like puddings, but I'd have a bit with you.
Yeah.
Leanne, why don't you think of this before?
I'd graze on Leanne's puddings any day.
Wow, she's pretty pleased with herself. I'm proud of her too. Then she swans off and Nick gets a call. Who's it from? Harvey.
Yeah.
The money's been transferred. And Nick's like, just to be sure that there are no strings attached to this cash that you've sent me for
You're
Sam's
just doing
future.
this to be nice, aren't you, Harvey?
Definitely not, says Harvey. You're now my partner in crime. Now, this is my question, right? Nick and Leanne were so poo-poo, I'm not going to take any money from the child. But they've just stolen the money that Harvey was going to give him. So what's the difference between stealing Sam's future money from his mum versus stealing his future money from a criminal? It's still stealing off of Sam.
Yeah, but they kind of made peace with that by the end.
Anyway,
they?
if I was Nick and Sam was going,
Leanne doesn't know.
I know Leanne doesn't know. I'm going to spend all my money on going to university and getting a good job. I'd be like, no, you don't need money. You can probably get some kind of nerdy chess scholarship or something.
And also, come on, Sam, you got long-term plans for this programme? You're going to be getting a job on the street, mate.
Yeah, you're going to be working down Roy's Rolls. You don't need a degree for that.
You don't know. Although, to be fair, I mean, Amy is still going with her course, isn't she? She's almost made it to the end of the first
first semester, yeah.
First semester,
Good job, Amy.
Well, it's gonna
and no dramas happen. She's just a bit squinting over her homework.
Yeah. You
don't need to worry about the first year. Just coast through it.
So what's Harvey's plan here then?
He's obviously going to say... I don't know what the plan's going to be.
No, I don't know because, he's in prison and he's going to be in there for quite a long time. He's clearly up to something.
Well, he's going to say, if you don't do this, that and the other thing, I'm going to tell everybody... I don't know. I can't... I mean, obviously that you shouldn't just take money from criminals.
Yeah, I mean, if it's money that has been procured by selling drugs or whatever.
Can you get in trouble for that?
But Nick doesn't know. I mean, he probably does, actually, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, if...
He knows that this is drug money.
Yeah. Maybe Sharon's going to turn up looking for it.
Maybe.
Maybe Nick can tase her.
I don't know. I've got no clues at the moment. I'm somewhat interested in this.
I really wish that they had just taken the money. Nobody's written in to tell me that I'm wrong about this. I'm sure some people
must be right.
Feel. I know. I'm sure there are a lot of different ideas, and some people would never even dream of it. But if I'm in dire straits and the choice is bankruptcy or take some money from a kid that I'm going to pay them back, I wouldn't really think about it.
Well,
maybe I'm just a callous, evil cow.
Yeah, just like Nick.
But I wouldn't just take the money. I'd say, right, here's the plan. Here's the interest rates that I'm going to match. This is my repayment plan. This is when you're going to get your money back.
Yeah.
If you want to go to university, we'll make sure that we pay you back within X amount of time. It's not like a mortgage. You don't need a bloody 40-year loan on 20 grand for a roof or whatever they're fixing.
I just
also can't believe that the whole thing is full of wet rot and it's going to be 20 grand when our roof was 10 grand.
Yeah, we just had to change a few tiles and
we got bloody fleeced, to tell you that for nothing.
Yeah, price of materials are going up.
It's going up
soon. I'm just kind of not necessarily on their side because I want Debbie to be in charge of the bistro again. Where was Debbie this week?
I know. What's Debbie going to do for a living now? I worry about that girl.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, final storyline this week.
Here's also a question. Maybe not. Sorry. Does anybody know where Leanne's jumper came from?
Oh, yes.
Rebecca wants to know. It's the one that's
very
white.
Striking.
It's white and red, but it's got this kind of funny pattern along
zigzags.
The edge. And I looked up. I couldn't find it anywhere. I found Sainsbury's do a stripy red and white jumper similar, but that's not the same because it hasn't got the pattern. And I found French Connection does the jumper, but it's not exactly the same shape, and it's brown. It's like a brown and beige kind of colour.
I spent 4 hours
in
the middle of the night.
5 hours I spent. I was up until about 4 o'clock in the morning, no lie, looking for this goddamn jumper. And then the night before that, I spent 2 hours looking for it. So I've spent 7 hours.
Somebody please put her out of her misery.
I'm sure it's from a past season, but now I just want to know. It's annoying me.
It's eating away.
And I don't know what the name for the pattern is, so I can't Google that.
Kenage à toi. So, couple of scenes here. We got a play rehearsal. Martha's kind of... remember last week I was not particularly impressed with Martha's introduction to the programme when she was doing all the silly breathing exercises with Mary. And here Mary is getting very frustrated with herself, and Martha just kind of jumps in and says, oh, it'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. Because Mary's not happy with the script, and Martha says, oh, Ken's going to sort it.
I think this is a lot more fun for them to do than it is for us to watch, because this is kind of very in-jokey.
It does seem fun to act.
It's in-jokey for all the people that are involved in productions of things, and I'm sure everyone in their mind goes, this reminds me of when I was doing that play that set Chichester on fire. But to watch it, it's kind of fun, but I think it's more of an in-joke. Do you not think?
But I've seen an awful lot of hate for the play storyline.
I'm actually surprised how much people are mad about this story. Yeah. They hate it, don't they?
I mean, compared to Steve, Tim in the Jacket, compared to what else do we have? Laurence and Sean. Is the play story really the worst thing that's going on in Coronation Street?
I know that Mary's overacting, but it wouldn't work to dial her down because she's already so dramatic.
I hated her overacting last week, but she wasn't really overacting too much this week. She has dialed it down. What's interesting me in this storyline isn't the play, and it's never been the play particularly. It's what's going on with Ken and Wendy, what's going on with Ken and Martha. So any scene where they step away from Nigel and just, and get on with the relationship kind of stuff, then that's a win for me. So he's taking tea with Martha later, isn't he? Ken at number 1, and it seems like they successfully changed Mary's line. She's happy, and then Martha says, "Oh, I got my manuscript on solid grounds. Would you mind?"
I love this. No, he's already. Looked at
that's right. He's already had a look at it, hasn't he?
And he gives it back.
Gives her the manuscript, and it's just got scribbles and crosses out and changes all over it. And she's like, "This is completely different thing," and she's kind of offended by all the corrections at first. This is like what you're like
when you say to me, what about this pun? And I'm like, that's crap, and you're like, whoa. Huh.
So then she has a closer look, and it seems like she's actually quite impressed by the adaptations he's made.
The difference between me and Ken is that when I say that's crap, I don't come up with a better alternative.
Then he gets a text from Wendy, who's waiting for him in the bistro, and he doesn't tell Martha that it's her. He just says, "Oh, I've got a prior engagement that I need to get to." Martha's kind of disappointed about this because it looks like she's trying to get her claws into Ken. So he turns up at the bistro, says sorry to Wendy for being late. And that's kind of it for the story.
Wow, he's got two girls on the.
Yeah, I would say this is warming up for next week, but this was Monday's episode, so I don't know when this is going to come back. But I'm kind of liking this. There's a love triangle with these very old. Well, Ken's in his 80s. I think Wendy's in her 70s, maybe. I'm not sure how old Martha's supposed to be, but this is great.
More senior members of the cast.
Yes, the cast, the characters in their golden years are having a love triangle, and why not? It's fun. It's Ken. He can't help himself. He's been a randy bugger for the last 80 years, and why should he stop now?
Why can't Ken have a little bit of Imran action? Two women on a hook at the same time.
I think it would be kind of funny, and I think that
it is funny
in a actually funny way. And not a funny in a Laurence the Dentist or Sean or Tim in his Jacket way. I'm well up for this. I mean, I assume that at the end of it, he's going to lose both of them because we all know that Martha isn't going to stay on the cast. I honestly don't know whether Wendy's here on a permanent basis. I've got a feeling she's not, but I've thought that since July. I was surprised when we went to see the filming in August and Roberta was still there.
Yeah.
But I think that he's going to try and string them along, and then they'll probably both find out, and then they'll both dump him, and that's the end of it. And if that's all it is, fine, because we've had Wendy back, we've had Martha back, Ken's had a story, happy days. Yeah, no problem there, and it's fine. So, how are we going to rank this week?
We've been accused of cowardice, haven't we, for not giving this week. Well, not ever giving 1 out of 5.
I'm sure I've given maybe 1.5s before, and if any week's going to be getting there, then I'm kind of thinking it's this, because the Stephen, like we said, it just didn't quite get me, and the killing Audrey or trying to kill Audrey stuff, I think the key float my boat
thing to say about this week is if you hadn't seen any of this, would it affect
I think you'd be able to pick it up pretty well. Your knowledge afterwards.
Of what's going on.
You might just go, oh, Steve's back.
I mean, you can literally fill somebody in about 3 sentences.
But it's still taken us 2 hours.
Stephen tried to kill his mum. Steve's back. Laurence is back.
Summer's had a miscarriage.
Okay,
that's the main thing.
Those are the main things that happened, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm not into the Summer storyline. And you don't need to know
anything else.
I kind of feel bad for her for having a miscarriage, but on the other hand, it's like, well, she's only a character.
Well, this is the thing you need to understand when you're listening to us being very flippant about all these things, is that they aren't.
Laurence don't care. Max, nothing happened. Jacket was a load of rubbish. Leanne, fine, but I'm on Team Debbie, and she wasn't in it. Ken was alright as well, but he only got about 3 scenes, so really there was not very much here for me.
There's not a lot going on. I mean, I can sympathise and empathise with Summer. I just don't really care. And I enjoy Stephen, but this is probably his weakest week.
Yeah, I'm giving it 1.5. I'm giving it 1.5.
Why a half? Why not just go for it? Why not just say 1? The thing is, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't interesting. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad.
I was just watching it thinking, this is not great this week.
I was really disappointed.
I'm giving it 1.5, fellas, out of 5 this week.
What happened to the other fellas? They ran off and left him.
You don't want to know.
Oh, see,
he's in the bin.
You definitely.
He was Stephen's latest victim.
You definitely disliked this week more than I did.
Yeah.
So I can't give this a 1 myself because I didn't think it was a 1 week.
Okay, you going for 2? 2.5?
It's definitely not.
It's not a 3, is it?
It's not 2.5. I'm trying to decide between 2 and 1.5.
Do it.
I think I'll give it 1.5 as well.
1.5.
Grazing
boards.
This
must be, combined
boards.
Our lowest scoring week possibly ever on the podcast.
The most meh week of all meh weeks. It was. Yeah. It was
1 grazing boards, did you say?
1.5 grazing boards.
Okay.
So.
Well, can I have the 1 and you have the half? Because you're not as much of a pudding person as me.
I won't eat all of it. Thank you.
And then we get to character of the week, and it's like, who inspired me this week? Who was I gagging to see more of? And it's like,
I think I'm going to give it to Stephen for trying his hardest to make a story interesting. But even trying to kill Audrey couldn't save this week from being mediocre. It's nice to see him back. I just want him to get on with what we all are assuming is going to be a short-lived career in dabbling in the world of serial killing. And the question is, who is he going to kill next?
Yeah. I kind of half want to give it to Ken for being a sly old dog.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. But he only had about 3 weeks of this. And then I'm also kind of thinking, do I give it to Aaron just because he can't catch a break anywhere else?
If Aaron realised how handsome he was, he wouldn't be with Summer, the boring life drain. Would he?
No. I'm gonna give it to Aaron. I'm gonna give him the sympathy vote this week because he looked.
I just honestly do feel really, really bad for how little regard Summer's ever given that poor boy for any of his emotions or feelings. The only thing she seems to want to do is help his dad, but she hasn't really asked him, Aaron, is this what you want? I'm sure if she's really
been beaten up by his dad for years.
Yeah, that's the point. I forgot about that. Why is she?
Yeah. Summer wants to fund his.
Well, no, she's trying to get him better so that he won't beat his son. But
you can't just throw money at things like this and hope it goes away.
Just poor kids. They're so confused.
Oh, they're only young.
I know. They've got so much time ahead of themselves to make mistakes.
Yeah.